best cameraman of all time. All right, so let's go ahead and start. So this is, like I said, this is something that my personal model, essentially, how we use the 4-hour candles to profile and also align expand. First lecture on this, my first live stream that goes a little bit more in depth. Doesn't cover everything, but you should probably watch that. I'm not going to go into super in depth, but I'm just going to show you how to align 4-hour candles with the fractal model. Okay, so essentially, all I'm doing is viewing price through profiling. Like that's how I get a lot of my bias, how I confirm a lot of my bias. New York reversal, London reversal. Right, you're just gonna ask yourself, did we hit a key level for the low of the data format? And is that aligned with the daily small opposing run to expand away from that? Hold on. Someone text me. Let me make sure I'm good. Oh, hold on. Maybe I'm frozen or something. Oh, okay. My bad. All right, better? Sorry. Am I good? Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna restart. Okay, so I use the 4-hour chart to profile, right? To just um, like London reversal. We all know it. I'm gonna full screen this. Probably looks better, right? So like here is an example of um a New York reversal, right? Within the 6 a.m. candle, we have drivers. We have the AM drivers, as in, 8:30, 9:30, right? To pair with manipulation or whatnot. And all I'm doing is I'm saying, can I trade away from a reversal within the 4-hour candle that I'm currently in? So with here, no, I cannot, right? Because it does not have that small wick to support expansion. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the next candle to open to align with expansion, right? So even if there's a reversal here, so you have a candle two or whatever, maybe that even forms sooner or whatever, I'm still gonna wait for the 10 a.m. candle to open. Right? The 10 a.m. candle is probably the easiest candle to trade because you have so much information, right? It's always gonna be continuation usually. Sometimes it's New York reversal, but usually it's just um, continuation, right? Because you have the drivers before that time opening, you have the 2 sessions prior. So you have a bunch of information to work off of. And all I'm essentially doing is having a lower time frame model supported by not only the daily expansion candle, but also the 4-hour expansion candle. Okay. I'm just aligning these two candles in the same direction. That's all we're doing, really. Um, and then naturally, you're just gonna have a profile, right? So how to incorporate the fractal model within this? So prior to an open, right? Many times you're going to have a fractal model already present. So if we reverse inside of this candle, it doesn't matter how this candle closes, by the way, before it occurred. That doesn't matter. So actually irrelevant. You're just gonna ask yourself, is there a reversal, right? Do we have a candle two prior to the 10 a.m. open? A lot of times it's going to open in instead of a candle three or a candle four to just expand away. Right. So if you look at many of my trades, this is all I'm trading, bro. Very simple. It takes out a bunch of noise. You know exactly when and where to trade, and you're aligning yourself with expansion, which is probably the most important part, right? So there's many versions of this. So we're gonna get to like another version. So what about a New York reversal, right? It's the same thing as here, but what's the difference between these two candles, right? The wick size, right? So see this wick size. So you're gonna see the trade that I'm gonna show you on Friday. I took this exact profile right here, right? Um, And all you need, if you're going to trade within a reversal candle, 6 a.m. or any 4-hour reversal candle, you just want the low of the candle to be formed from a fractal model, right? Here, you open up and it already forms, but you have to wait for this fractal model to actually form, right? So now you're same thing, right? You're aligning expansion candles. The only reason why you can trade this New York reversal is because you're trading within a 4-hour expansion candle. That's the only difference, right? There's also what about London reversal? If you want to trade London reversal, it needs to be either the previous 4-hour candle hits a key level or whatnot. But majority of the time, I'm gonna wait for London to form the low today. It's kind of too early sometimes to trade away from an Asia higher low. It's a little bit too early. It's kind of like AM's approach where if Asia is higher low today, he's just gonna wait for that 1 a.m. 7-hour candle to close because it's too early to tell, right? To trust an Asia higher low sometimes. So generally, I I'm gonna have to have a London be low today, right? To trade away from that. So here, if I'm gonna trade London, I'm gonna ask myself, can I trade within this? Does this 4-hour candle support, expansion away from whatever key level? And I could show you some examples of that too. Same thing, right? If it's a reversal candle, which majority of the time in London it is going to be, then you just need to have the low or high form from a candle two, right? Or an ideal swing formation or a valid candle three, right? Just need to be a fractal model that you're trading from. Right, very simple. What about if you're a New York trader and we open up something like this, so like continuation, right? It's very simple. Below the candle again, it's formed from a fractal model, right? So that seems pretty simple, right? So let's get into some examples, right? I just wanted to cover it really briefly. Obviously, the course will cover it in much more detail. There's a couple more variants of this, but it's all relatively the same. So we'll get into some examples that I took this week with the same approach. So first off, I took this trade here. So go back. All right, so let's go to the 4-hour chart. So like I said, go ahead and draw this out. Right, we purge this low. Hold on. All right, so what phase of price do we get after we take out this high? Right? Does this look like a manipulation of this high? No, right? It looks like basically retracement, right? We're leaving a bunch of failure swings. See that? So this is majority of the time a continuation signature, meaning this range is likely to hold, right? So what do I have in discount is a fair value gap. Right, so what do I see the 6 a.m. candle do? Again, I don't really care how it closes. Not really that important, but it does close a reversal candle, so that's always ideal, right? It closes a reversal candle, but what I'm really looking at is how did this daily candle print? Well, it is a reversal candle. So when you're trading within a reversal candle, right, you need to target the around the opening price, right, back to the open, or even lower than that, right, below the daily open. I think I took my target like right here or something. I don't remember. It's on Twitter, but I took my trade a little bit around here or something. So again, this is gonna be in the course. This is fading the daily candle, but yeah, I'm not actually targeting up here because that's not what the daily candle supports. It doesn't support expansion to this high. The next day, yeah, sure it does. But let's look inside of here. What do we have? Right. So this is 6 a.m. open. Right. We're not going to trade right here. Not going to trade the CSD because I'm not going to fade it. A bearish expansion candle. Right. It's very hard to anticipate how this candle is going to close. Just let it close, right? Let the reversal happen, and then you can trade the next candle, right? So what do we see here on this next candle? You have two options here. You can either enter right here. That's what I did, I think, right? In anticipation of the 4-hour low to form within this propulsion block, right? Or you can just wait for this, right? That's also an option. Right? It's the same way we approach a daily chart or any candle, right? You want to see an invalidation in the upper half of this candle's range, right? Because we want that small wick. Whoops. Want that small wick. So what key level is within this area, right? This propulsion block. So I can already assume the low is going to form here, but you can just enter right here as well, right? So does that kind of make sense? And what would this be? This is just a fractal model, right? Obviously. Um, so maybe this isn't even like a good example, Loki, but yeah, a lot of times it's just the 4-hour fractal model. Or you can even frame it down to maybe a 30-minute or 1 hour in this scenario. But Yeah, this is not even a this is just a 4-hour, 15-minute one, to be honest, but we'll get into this other example here. Where is it at? But you would still frame it the same way. So here could have been, I think maybe, hold on, we maybe could have had a 1-hour model here. Sure. Oh yeah, technically we do, right? Right here. Right. So you have a swing formation, right? So if you want to frame it down to the hourly chart, right, we have an opposing run inside of this invalidation, right? Right. So we have this is your invalidation, an opposing run that we close through it. So you could enter here, right? And then you take that as well. So this is what I mean, right? There's going to be a previous candle forming some sort of fractal model. Again, it doesn't have to be a 15-minute. In this case, though, we did close like that, right? Did close that reversal candle to get that 15-minute continuation. But sometimes it could be a 30-minute or an hourly, like you saw there. Um, so hold on, let's go into this other example. So what about this example? So I just showed you this, and you see how the previous day expanded into here. So what about this day? What do we have? We have a CSD, we have a sweep of this high. So now we're at this point at 10 a.m. open. What do we see? We're making a very, very deep run within this range. But when you see a deep run like this and you see order flow being respected, right? Price is already bearish, then you can assume the range low is going to fail, right? So we can look inside of here as well, in both of these candles to see the same approach, right? So within this 6 a.m. candle, what do we see? Right? We see price trading away from the opening price, right? So it's already aligned with expansion at this point. And then we see the 2 a.m. candle, right? So we have Asia expansion, London retracement, and we're getting back on side with expansion here. So the previous candle hit the key level. How did it close? Right? It closed more of an expansion candle. So when it opens near the high, you can frame a reversal off that candle's high. I covered this in my first stream. This is going to be in the course too. But we can trade a reversal candle, right, off this candle's high. You're going to see a gold example that I took yesterday, the exact same model, right? So what does the high form from, right? Fractal model, right? Hourly fractal model here. So you can look within these candles, right, for an expansion lower. And when you drop lower, right, what do we see? Right, first off, I don't know if I'm going to implement it, probably not. I trade within candle twos, like I would take this personally, but or I would take this here within the candle two, but it's a little bit low in the range. Um, so we'll just stick to this. We'll stick to this, right? You have a key level here, right? You have expansion, some sort of consolidation, or you expand lower, and now we get that intra-candle CSD. So this right here is valid to take, right? You put your stop loss above here, and you could target, session lows or whatnot. Right? It's a very good RR trade, or you can wait for the retest. It's really up to you, right? But there is that risk that you get missed just like that, right? So it's better to just market execute majority of the time. This is not actually the trade that I took, right? Because I'm not at the charts. I just wasn't at the charts at this time. But you see how we're just trading within an hourly fractal model that is supported by a higher time frame expansion candle. So again, lower time frame model supported by a higher time frame candle, right? This in this case, we have the daily aligned. If I show you the daily chart, what do we have? The daily expansion candle that we're trading within, right? And we have a draw open. Now we're also trading within a 4-hour expansion candle, right? So you see how we're not trading within this candle, right? Because it doesn't support expansion lower, right? So we're going to wait for that next candle to open. So now we're trading within the 4-hour, the hourly, and the daily. You see that how we're aligning expansion candles in one direction? So what about 10 a.m. open? How did I get this trade here? Right? Because at this point, we created an ideal swing formation. right? At this point, right, we have a swing formation, validates this an opposing candle. And like I said, this draw was open. It was very clear that price is going to go here at 10 a.m. So let's look how you can get on side with that. Right. So what model do we have prior to the open of this candle? We have a 15-minute fractal model from a key level, right? So this is that example of price forming that fractal model. If I have it, right, prior to the open. So this is exactly what you see, right? We're opening it inside of a fractal model, right? So this candle 3 expansion is supported by the opening price of a new candle, right? Does that make sense? So here, right, if there's a reversal already happened, we just expect this, right? If I go down to lower time frame, do we have that alignment yet? Yes, we do. Draw it for you. Right. So all I need to see is this. All I need to see that, and then we form some SMT here, right? So no, there's no wick on this candle, but on the other asset there is, right? We took out this high. So as soon as we close below this is your entry, right? To get up over here, right? Or you can, right? You can project this as well. That lines up pretty well, right? I think it chops around for a little bit, but eventually gets there. Again, all these trades are posted on Twitter. The trades that I took, same model. All right, eventually gets there, right? So that's that trade. So what about Friday? Again, this is 3 trades this week. There's probably more that presented, but these are the ones that I took personally. Like which one that presented? Which one did I not take? This one right here, right? The 6 a.m. candle, the reversal. That was a really nice trade. I was not at the charts at that time. But this is Friday, and I'm gonna show you both, like the ping pong that you can do here. It's crazy. So let's go with the narrative for today, right? So for longs, I was a bit hesitant for longs. So the reason why is because this very large expansion handle the previous day. So I'm not expecting price to go way up here inside of this range, like way up here. No, no, no. I'm just longing to the current day high that you're going to see here. This is right here. So what phase of price do we get? Right? Expansion. We trade into objective. So after expansion, we can get a new phase of price. We already know that. Here, what is this? Consolidation, right? Which is a continuation signature, right? Price doesn't reverse consolidation. Doesn't do that. So what I'm framing is just this, right? Internal to external on the 4-hour chart, right? So if you see my first stream, again, this candle at the key level, I want to frame a reversal off that candle's low. And I can trade within this 4-hour candle, the 6 a.m. candle, because of what? Because of that small wick, right? So see how we're keeping objective? It's there. It's our filter. So it might drop lower. You have multiple options here, to be honest. So what I'm waiting for is 8:30 news. There's 8:30 red folder here, right? So we have a swing formation, so you can trade the 5 minute or whatever, right? So you see how this low is formed from a fractal model. I'm sure there's maybe a 30-minute example. I'm not sure, right? So here's 8:30. What is the low of this redistribution form from, right? Fractal model. You have a candle two, you get expansion, right? What created was just simply the 15-minute chart. So here's a tip. I've repeated this a lot before, but when you have a assumed low of day prior to a news event, and that news event expands away from that low, that's your confirmation, right? Especially when it validates a propulsion block. So this is my entry right here. Yeah, I know some people took this as well. Very good trade in my opinion. Very pretty good, except the daily doesn't really support it. But a lot of times I just go off profiling. That's why I get so many trades a week. Um, and now we get there, right? Get to that high. Now, what about the reversal right? Because this is logical to create a reversal. I don't know if this lines up. It does line up here too, but this is very logical to trade this expansion back in the range, right? Because of the weekly range, how large it is. And when you look here, we have an SMT as well. So again, we're not just like pattern trading blindly, right? And if you also know my rule, right? The previous day traded into highs. So what can we get on the daily chart? A new phase of price. We can trade back within the range. Many of you guys already know this model, right? It's the same thing, right? What I just showed you on the 4-hour chart, right? The previous day trade into key levels. How did it close? It closed an expansion candle, right? So I can frame a reversal off that candle's high. That's what you see on the 4-hour chart, right? This candle at the key level. I want to frame a reversal off that candle's low if there's no reversal inside of this candle. Right? So you see how this is objective and you can frame a whole approach around this. So what do we have here? Right? Small wick on the 4-hour chart for reversal that supports reversal. Small wick on the daily chart, right? So what forms the high of this candle? Fractal model, right? Look at that. Right? On the hourly chart, you could trade that lower. So the only problem here is this is all the way down here, right? So either you trust I've already went over this too. Whenever the CSD is really far away, right? I need to see a couple things. I need to see the reversal signature of expansion of expansion, which is what you see right here. Expansion in, expansion away, right? And then the first relevant failure swing that gets printed, I'm referring to that as a CSD, right? Now, you don't have to do this. I'm referring to also inverse fair value gaps as your first sign of weakness here. But again, I'm not going to use that. We'll just use this here. We'll just go off of this, right? You have a swing point here. So candle for expansion, right? Simple as that. Because at this point, we open up this candle right here, right? You got the CSD already. And then this is your invalidation, right? When I mark out the previous candle right here, what key level do we have within this range, right? We have these series of candles, which is what the high of the candle 4 gets created from, right? This small little range. So you get an ideal swing formation right here. Like, why is this an ideal swing formation? Because it got created from a key level, right? And this swing, right, is also validating an order block. So you just enter on the creation of that, your stop loss above that. We're assuming the high of the candle 4 is printed, so we can trade the expansion of the candle into what? We have lows down here. We'll go for 2 hours, so $800 right here. Right, simple as that. Boom. Right. So does that make sense to everyone? And it could be a 30-minute model too right here, but I don't think this CSD is, I think it's far away as well. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the CSD is too far away. But yeah, so does these um, trades make sense? I didn't trade this reversal. I had a good day. I was already done for the day, but this is logical, right? To trade back to this candles range. We're not expecting price to expand after that. So really, I think this is more high probable in my opinion. This reversal, right? Because remember, we have SMT here. If I show you silver, right? There's the divergence. And remember, when you want to trade back into a range, what do we not trade? We don't trade retracement. We don't trade this back into a range. What if we trade? We wait for a protected swing. We wait for manipulation so we can expand back into a range, right? We wait for manipulation, right? Pair that with an SMT. Pair that with the candle you're trading within, the daily candle, the 4-hour candle. You want it to trade expansion back to the range, right? You don't want to trade away from failure swings. Right? That's not what you want to do. Um, so that was gold this week. So first, let's go over some questions, and then if you guys want, I can show you more examples because I took a bunch of trades this week. Had a really good week with the same model. Yeah, so I don't wait for swing points, right? I don't on the 4-hour chart, that's not what it's about. I'm not trading the fractal model on the 4-hour chart, like I said. Um, I'm just waiting for let's say I have a classic, you know, or London reversal, right? All I'm doing, it's not about waiting for the 4-hour candle to close a reversal candle. That's not actually what it's about. This is totally valid to trade. Think about like AM style where you're just trading away from manipulation. So let's say we manipulate this low. So all I'm asking myself is in current time, if we have a valid confirmation to go higher, we have a valid confirmation like CSD to trade away from this sweep or whatever. Am I within a expansion candle that supports this, right? Because if the opening price is up here for the 2 amp candle, what does this not support? It doesn't support expansion, right? Because it would look something like this. Or let me like make it like right here. The candle would look something like this. It's a super long wick, which that's not how expansion candles form, right? So I wouldn't have expansion aligned on my side. So what would I wait for? I would just wait for a new candle open, right? Okay, and then now naturally, now I have a reversal candle, right? But I don't actually need to have that on my side, to be honest, right? It can close like this for all I care. It could close like this, right? Or how do I make this? It could close like this or something. Or there's no reversal. Let's say the other candle looks like this. Let me make this dark so you guys can see. Oh my goodness, bro. Right? It can just expand like that, right? And within this candle, we can create the CSD, or it can sweep out this low. But what do I have a line down? All I need is the reversal confirmation, which is what? A CSD. That's it. And then I just need to be within an expansion candle at that current moment, you know? So if I go here, right, I have a CSD, right? So you see how this is a daily profile? Like, it's literally just daily profile, like London reversal pretty much. And we also have S&T here, by the way, on silver. So we're pairing an entry with SMT, a driver, right? So really this is just, right, London reversal or whatever at this current time just to get this high. That's it, right? And then and I'm just gonna ask myself, right? This confirms you have a key level, a 4-hour fair value gap. You have the reversal on the 15-minute. Am I within an expansion candle on the 4-hour time frame? Yes, right? That's as simple as that. So I can trade a reversal candle on the 4-hour only if it's an expansion candle, right? A reversal into expansion. But I wouldn't trade it if it had a super long wick because that doesn't support expansion, right? Does that make sense? No, it'll be within this. Okay. Where I need some help with this. On Friday, I took short on YM after the 10 a.m. wick has formed after the entry on the price started chopping and price couldn't deliver. I said my BE at break even, my rental stop never hit, never went over the 10 a.m. break. Price stopped me out. Target fast. There was an hourly gap above the water wick, which scared me a little. I feel like I did the right thing by getting out. Yeah, I think I remember this. So I actually took this trade as well, but I traded within the 6 amp candle. We can go over that if you guys want. Um, Yeah, I don't think it's bad to get out. There's actually SMT right here with what do you call it? Let me show you real quick. Let's go over that example because I took that. Um, YM. Okay, here we are. All right, YM. All right, so what we have is a two-stage SMT. Where we have an SMT on this higher time, the 4 hour, right? Then we have followed by another SMT, which confirms this SMT. That's why I call it two-stage SMT. But um, here I'm trading within this candle right here. Why? Because again, same model. This candle hit the key level. I'm gonna refer to drivers within the 6 a.m. candle because it supports expansion, right? It has that little small wick. That's it, right? So when I look inside of this here, what do I have prior to this news event? Again, I have the SMT. So you have to imagine this like this. You have to imagine it price ran out this high. Right? So manipulation, I have a bunch of low resistance to target, right? So when you think about a daily candle, how it forms, right? It goes open high first, prints a reversal. So intra-candle manipulation, I talk about this is the ideal profile. Probably going to cover that in the course as well. But what do I have prior to the news event? I have a swing formation, right? I have a three candle formation where we have a strong enough candle within here to trade this, right? I think actually, no, no, I actually traded within this news event. So I have a candle two closure that forms a 6 a.m. high. So I can trade this next candle lower, right? When I go to the 30-minute, just using context here, when I compare the indices on NQES, those two indices do not form a CSD here, right? They also don't form a fair value gap here. So what does that show me? That YM is the weaker asset. So I'm going to trade YM and I'm going to refer to the news events of 8:30 to get on side with expansion. That's it, right? So again, if you have assumed high of day, I've already mentioned this. When you have assumed high of day and news event expands away from that, that's your confirmation. So when I go to the 3-minute, it's just a bit cleaner. I have this opposing candle, right? So news event goes up, makes an opposing candle. So I can trade this lower, right? Into all these lows, right? And I really like these lows. To be honest, I didn't think they were going to get all the way down here. I did not think that, to be honest. So that's why I didn't even trade 10 a.m. wick, right? So you can trade that. And I went break even at some point, and then it came back for me, stopped me out. Never took out my stop loss, which was above this high, which is unfortunate, but it happens, right? I'll show you my CL trade I took as well. This would have been an insane day if I hit this trade, but eventually got there. Right. So how did the previous 4 hour candle close? Right. It forms an ideal swing formation. So if you're anticipating these lows to go, right, all these lows, we would expect the 10 a.m. candle to get there, right? These lows. So all you're going to wait for, you're just going to look for a PD, right, within this candle, right? The lower half of that, you have this as well as a key level. It's the opening price of this order block here. If I go to the 1 hour chart, there's nothing. If I go to the 30-minute, there's nothing yet. We play one candle, and now we have a potential fair value gap, right? So this isn't one of those candle twos that like are reversal, right, into expansion. So it sets for a weird type of narrative. Now, if you're an AM, if you're AM type of trader, or expansion model, sorry, then this is a really good trade for you guys to take, right? You have a 30 minutes call it closure, right? So for continuation, so you can take this, and what do you have as well? This forms the 10 a.m. high. So you're not only getting, continuous signature, but it's also supported by that. You're trading away from the 10 a.m. high or assumed, right? And I think, Trump started gapping, and then he eventually came back up, created an SMT, started yapping about tariffs and shit. made the market go a little crazy. But you see how there's an SMT here, right? With the quarterly asset. So really, this right here is a really good trade. It gets a bit choppy right here when you take out internal objectives, right? Because when you look at these lows, these are the only relevant lows, right? Between, you know, this is the next relevant low, and you see the space between them, right? So you're going to get reaction here, usually. You're not going to get a reaction between these lows, like if that makes sense. Like randomly down here, it doesn't make sense, right? You're going to get a reaction off of these lows, right? Because that's what happens when you take out lows. So that's why it gets a little bit choppy down here. It gets a little bit choppy. Um, but that happens, right? So you get redistribution here. You get a this model, you get an SMT, you get a um, panel two reversal. So I don't even know if there's a model here, but let's see. Okay, so what do you have? Valid candle two or a opposing candle. You have a key level. I really like this PA here, right? Expansion away. That's a generally a good signature to see, right? Okay, you have to move it to here now. And I would I would not enter that, right? That's just a very large opposing or a very large candle, right? And they're not gonna enter this. It might even go to 2R, but I mean that's just kind of ridiculous. Maybe you do. I mean, it's damn near 2R, but I probably wouldn't enter that to be honest with you. But yeah, that's how generally how I would look for that continuation there. If you did take this, right? Because you did have that candle, whatever it's called, that candle two, right? You're just not likely to get that expansion, right? Because again, after expansion, you get a new phase. So whenever you get it, you can see this on the daily chart a lot of times. When you get a reversal into expansion candle, you're not likely to get followed by another candle, another expansion candle. Like here, you have reversal into expansion. Candle is rather small, right? It's rather small. Um, you're going to see that a lot, right? So if I show you another example of, here's one as well. You have a candle too, right? But it's reversal expansion. It creates a large range, right? What happens after large range candles, right? You typically get small range candle. Um, so that's just a tip there. I think T mentions that a lot, by the way. He doesn't like those candles to enter on. But when there's a draw still left open, like it's still fine. But in that case, the internal draw is kind of like taken, or like the closely relative or relevant draw, which would be these lows, remember? Right? So you entering in this candle, like there's not a lot of space, right? You're usually gonna get a reaction to these relevant swings in the market. This is something AM talks about a lot as well. But again, not bad if you took this. It's okay. I mean, you could probably go break even, right? Possibly. If you, I assume you took this or something. It's propulsion block. Maybe you took that, or you put your stop loss over here. Either or, if you did enter here, I mentioned this to somebody. I know someone took this. When you see the market keep failing to displace under lows like this, that's never a good sign. You see how we just keep failing to displace? Like it's cool if you want to take the loss, but I'm generally going to get out of this trade. If you look at the majority of your winners, they're going to be they're going to expand away from your entry, like always. So that's just an early indication that you're probably cooked. At this point, maybe you can even trail down to here or something when we get this little CSU. There's always options to trail and stuff like that to mitigate your risk. Yeah, I took this Friday within here. Ideally, you want to get in around the inside of the wick of the candle. Yeah, I'm positioned inside the wick of this daily candle right here. This small wick supporting this 4-hour model. So at this point, I was framing right a 6 a.m. reversal or expansion, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. At that small wick inside of the daily wick, which is also small. To see how you can anticipate that expansion using drivers within the 6 a.m. candle. Um, I'll go over like a couple more questions. But yeah, good at job identifying the model because that's a absolutely fine trade to take majority of the time, you know. Oh, nice. That's a good one there. I'm a bit confused on why. Okay, I think I went over that. Heck yeah. Can you briefly describe how to backtest your model, like from top-down approach? Like if you're in the market. Yeah, sure. So a lot of my trades are just based off of the um, daily profile. That's all I'm doing. It's not off the 4-hour chart necessarily. It's just can I trade away from some relevant level, right? Some basically internal protected swing within the daily candle. So I talk about intercandle manipulation. This is what we see here, right? You make an open high, and then here we have an SMT. So it's a high of day candidate. I don't know if it's actually the high of the day until the drivers expand away, right? You can use drivers to your advantage. So when the drivers expand away from here, this is now adding a lot of context to my idea, right? Um, so really, it's just about basis of price, really, and then profiling, right? Open, high, low, close, basically a profile, a daily profile that is supported by the daily candle, right? That small wick. Those two things go hand in hand, right? You can't have a classic buy day. You can have a London reversal without that, you know, daily candle supporting expansion. It wouldn't you wouldn't get a New York continuation, right? So that they go hand to hand, really. So if you look here, what do we have? Right? You have a manipulation. So what does Asia do? It consolidates. What does what's it called? London do? Right? You can trade this inside this candle. Why? If I go to the 4-hour chart, what do we see? An expansion candle, right? So this is on YM. This is exactly what I just showed you guys on gold, right? You can trade within this candle. And what forms a low of the candle? Fractal model, right? Look, hourly reversal candle. So you see how it's very structured, right? You have all these little invalidations and stuff, and they're logical. It's not just like some stupid, I don't know. It's very logical, right? We have 1800 higher today, a relevant time to be the high day, right? It's just consolidation, right? So when we manipulate that, you can add a SMT here if you want. Ideally, right? You have that. You don't have, which is fine. You have with the previous day's low though. Technically, there is SMT there. Oh no, I'm tripping. There was no SMT. Hold on. I don't think there's SMT, but on the hourly chart, there is a. No, I'm not gonna say that, but it is fine. Right, no SMT on the hourly chart, which is ideal. It's always like really nice to see, but maybe within this lower time frame there is. I'm not gonna check, but right, low of the candle formed from my fractal model, you can now get on side with expansion, right? So at this point, you have the daily. You're buying below the daily open within the wick, just to this high, right? That's really all you're trading to. It's about the high. And then you have the 4-hour alignment, the hourly alignment, small wick, right? All in one direction, right? So this is like it's basically like time frame alignment, but within expansion candles, right? So you're aligning time frames, but you're also aligning expansion candles, right? So see how that is much better now. If you look here, same shit, same stuff. Let me cuss. Sorry, but here is like not the ideal candle close, to be honest. It's a candle too, right? From a key level, right? So, but this close is not ideal necessarily. But what happens prior to the 10 a.m. candle? We have some sort of key level hit, right? And we also have a candle too. So, what can you expect the next candle to do possibly? Right? Expand. It's the same thing. You see that? It's the exact same thing. So it's extremely repeatable. This is why you see me bang out trades every single day. Is because I know what I'm looking for within profiles, right? That's all it is. It's profiles, and then just aligning expansion candles in that direction. Does that make sense? But this will be covered like in nice detail, explained very nicely in the course. So I'm excited for you guys to learn. It's going to give you guys something to really just a really solid framework. That's what it is. That's what's so good about it. It's very solid framework to look back on. And it's very logical. Okay, what 6 a.m. candle beat London, or it's gonna be so it's either like a continuation. It's usually New York though, like particularly. Right, I'm always gonna trade around the drivers, me personally. So this is my kind of kill zone that I'm looking for. For in for indices, it's always gonna be around a driver. So I don't enter before 8:30, or sorry, 9:30 if there's no red folder. So if there's a red folder, I will enter at 8:30 if it presents, right? If it's like a continuation signature or whatever, I will. But typically I'll wait for 9:30, um, which I know that's like late in the candle, but you can actually enter within that. And I'll show you guys again. We'll go over like tons of examples later on, stuff like that when we get more in detail. Once you guys learn the foundation of it and all that. Um, but yeah, for like let's say CL or gold or something, yeah, I typically trade around 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is good, but there's really no if it presents like AM says, you can take it whenever, to be honest. That's just how I do it. Essentially, this was a trade, but 10 AM did nothing for 2 hours. Yeah, right. That's just because after expansion, it kind of just like I said, it hit that relevant level. See the space between these lows and these lows? It's very significant. Right? So you're gonna get some pause in the market. So you're gonna wait for some like key level to get hit for redistribution, really. Garrett, at the beginning of the day, do you review all assets? Yeah, so I just come to charts at like New York session and I just look what profile looks the best to me, and I'll trade within that pretty much. But this is probably something like we'll make a flow chart. Me and T will make a flow chart and all that. I don't have that right now. Make a flow chart for you guys, easier to understand and all that. Hopefully, we can get it out within like 2 weeks. Yeah, this is just like a brief example of how I use a model, which was right here. I'll post in the chats. I have a screenshot of it. I might have deleted everything. Whoops. Fortunate. I go back on stuff. Okay, whatever. Um, it's right here though. I'll post this in my chat. I'll post it in here right now, actually. You guys to words here. Whoops. I mean to put that line there. Best trade will be 1 hour swing point candle three in practice. That's also started. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So it's either you're trading within a reversal candle on the 4 hour time frame, but it's a reversal into expansion, right? The low of the candle is formed from a fractal model, or you open within. It's just continuation, pretty much. Where the low day is already put in. Yeah, I can also put in my channel, and then I'll post all the different variants of this, right? We can go over some more examples that I took. Let me show you guys CL I took on Friday as well. So I had to trade this long, right? This isn't really. I'm not. Why am I not trading long here? Because of this candle here. It doesn't support expansion, so generally I'm not going to trade that. Also, just such a random reversal to be honest. But I traded this here. So at the time, right, we had that small wick on the daily that supports that, right? We also have. If I just show you, going to get a little bit kind of messy here, but we have SMT within this high over here. Right, so the previous day created that SMT. So what are the next day going to do? Expand to lows, right? When I look within the candle, do we have a reversal put in? Okay, so we have some sort of opposing run to the daily candle, and then we have London expansion. So when you get London expansion, what can we get after that? New phase of price, right? Early within the session. So we get retracements And then when I look at just this in general, like all these failure swings, when I see if you take a fib to like the range high to range low, the very range high, the extreme range high to low, we're making a very deep run within this range. So typically, when I see that displacement, back to the range, I'm gonna always favor um, the range low to be taken, right? And then when you take this range high to range low, where is this high getting formed? Premium. So there's no reason to come higher than this. If we're gonna take this low, there's no reason to trade higher, right? Before we take this low, right? So if I draw out this 6 a.m. open, if I show the 4-hour chart here, what does the 2 a.m. candle do? It expands, right? So I want to trade the next candle expansion into these lows pretty much. Right? Also forms a CSD, right? And so the reason why we get kind of a deeper run is because that, like I said, that 2 a.m. candle, pretty large range, right? So look over here, pretty large range. You're going to get some sort of retracement, pretty large range into a low. You get consolidation. But just generally after that, you can expect maybe a deep retracement. But this is ideally where it reverses, right? Premium of this range. So here, where's the high of the candle forming? Within the kill zone, so 8 o'clock in the morning, right? It's formed from a fractal model, right? So see how it's all the same thing? It's all relative. So if I drop to the lowest time frame, what do we have? Then candle two, we have the reversal. What does this next candle do? Open high first, sweep out this little high, close below, boom, enter right there. Target this low. Okay, so does that make sense kind of? That was my trade there. Does that make sense, everyone? I'm gonna go back to chat. Whoops. No? Did you miss the first part of the stream? Change it to 1 hour 30 for a structure. Yeah. Honestly, whichever one this is gonna be in the course, but really like whatever you prefer, like whatever you want to stick to. Oh, okay. Mm, Me and T will also be working on a bias section in the course at some point, probably. Help you guys with bias. But really like this 4 hour stuff or this profiling, bro, profiling, you can get so much bias from that alone. Do you really learn it? Like I can't anticipate this move higher, but I can anticipate the move lower to this low. Right? I cannot anticipate this. I don't need to. But what else did I take this week, bro? Um, I want to look here for a second. No, there's nothing. Oh, I want to show you guys an EU trade with this model. It was just a little 2 hour trade, but it's like somewhere in here with a 9 a.m. candle open. So this is on Forex here. So here you have a swing point formed. And again, I don't care if it's not a valid candle 3. That's not actually what matters here. Here we have a swing point formed from a P level, right? A range. Now, when I drop to the hourly chart, what is this? What is this starting to look like? A classic sell day, right? So now I'm just within a range on the hourly chart from here to here, where we have an hourly CSD. So what if we break this down? What is this? Expansion into a low followed by what? Consolidation. And then this is a manipulation into this fair value gap, right? So I can refer to this on the 30-minute just to get a smaller stop loss. I don't even think it presented on that 5-minute. So example, a lot of times you're gonna have a 30-minute model and an hourly model at the same time, right? So here's just a valid swing point formation. So whatever is presented, like maybe the 5-minute CST hasn't CST yet, but maybe on 3-minute has or something like that. Then you could just use that on the 3-minute, right? Because 3-minute and 5-minute are very similar. You guys know. Um, I actually love the 3-minute a lot. So here, all I'm waiting for is this. Right? I'm actually waiting for a closure below. Right, the 10 a.m. candle or the 9 a.m. candle already opened. We already have a key level hit prior to the opening price of the 10 a.m. candle. So I want these lows to get targeted, this little consolidation, right? And after that gets taken, I don't actually care what happens after that. So here you can just enter that. I stop loss above there, EP down here. All right, you can just take that, right? And then it just started to BS for the rest of the day, pretty much. Which Forex does typically around like this reversal. I can't really actually anticipate it. It doesn't make sense profile wise necessarily, right? It's just a seek and destroy day, like right. So I'm not gonna trade that, but if you look here prior to this happening, it looks clean, doesn't it? You have a classic buy day. You're just trading continuation in New York session. This is 8 o'clock already. Right, so you're already in New York kill zone, and then you have the 4-hour candle opening. So I don't care to predict how the 4-hour candle closes. I don't care about that. I just care about aligning myself with expansion. So you see how this model here in the 30-minute was supported by that new opening price to get to this low. That makes sense. If you look at the high of this candle here, although this is not an expansion candle, this just shows you the logic really. Right within this fair value gap, whatever you guys say on the 4-hour chart, the high of the candle is created from basically just a 30-minute model, right? If you want to trade a London reversal, I'm sure it's an hourly candle. So like look here. Yeah, so hourly candle supports it. Much like I don't care about how the 4-hour candle closes, right? Pretend like this is the 4-hour chart, and I'm gonna drop down to like 30-minute, the 1-hour here. So this would be the just a 1-hour open pretty much. So this candle here doesn't support expansion lower, right? So you have to wait for a new opening price, right? So what does this form, right? The last 30 minutes in the previous hour formed a reversal. So what will the next open do, right? Expand lower. The CSD would be like, okay, already CSD, right? So here's your ideal swing formation right here. Oops, skip too fast. Like just pretend the 4-hour candle is aligned, right? This is how you would do it typically, right? Just say the high 4-hour candles form from a uh, reversal on the 30-minute or the hourly chart. Here's just continuation of that, right? To get lower. Right? You have another model here, right? And you're trading to this low, this consolidation low. Does that make sense, kind of? Whoops. A lot of times, if the let me see the 4-hour chart on like the correlated assets. Okay, that's a simple DXY. On DXY, it's really clean. Wow. Here, this candle hits the key level. This is like perfect. Wow. Just wait for that next candle to expand. Let me see if it formed a reversal to. Okay, technically no, right? We don't have that. We don't have that reversal candle, but you could trade this, right? It was swing point. I don't think it gives you an entry though. Technically, yeah. There's no like I don't think there's an entry there. Maybe right here, but maybe right there. But ideally, you want to enter around the opening price of here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What else did I take to this week that I can show you guys? Let me look at my Twitter real quick. Let me also answer some questions for y'all. If that's happening. Mm, Where would y'all last? Okay, somewhere in here. Bro, honestly, I started focusing on the 10 a.m. candle only because of where I am with hourly. Yeah, that's pretty much the model. Like one of the models. It's extremely good. The 10 a.m. candle is. If you look at my Twitter, dude, almost all my trades are 10 a.m. candle. Easiest to trade. It's so easy. And then when you add it to the fractal model, it's just mechanical. Like, you can't mess it up unless you got your all wrong or something. You could go through one asset for 5 days last week and quickly comment how many models played out the way you wanted. Let's say gold. I pretty much did gold. There's like 3 days. But yeah, I'll do like NQ or something. I did take NQ this week, some models. So just going off of here, right? There is a model that played out here, by the way. But it just wasn't clean enough for me. I'll show you why. So if you wanted to trade a continuation, I saw some people take this, like maybe like a 930 continuation high, right? Because the low of the candle is pretty far away. So you honestly you can't even anticipate this drop really. There is some weekly range logic to why that can happen, but I'm not gonna get into that. But really, if you wanted to trade a 930, continuation, it's supported by this 6 a.m. candle. See that? That small wick. So there's a trade here. I'm gonna show you, right? The low of the candle is created from what? A 30-minute CSD, or is it not CSD? A model, 30-minute model here, and then you get some sort of continuation right here, right? So that's technically there, but I was a little bit picky here. I also just traded a bunch of assets. I was already in a bunch of trades at the time, so I wasn't being too greedy. I wanted SMT right here. That was what I was kind of demanding from the market, which it never presented. If this presented here, dude, would have been beautiful. But it's technically the model playing out, right? Um, but I just didn't take that. I took something the other day or something. Where is it at? I took this right here, right? So that's what I'd say. So at the time, we had some SMT here, right? With that high there. But here, we had failure swings down here. I think I kind of messed up this day, maybe being a little bit too greedy. But the current low of the day, this is why I was really bearish, at least to this low. I was being a bit greedy holding to down here, to be honest. Um, because the daily wick is kind of large, right? So it's kind of greedy to hold down here, but maybe I made that mistake. It's all good though. But you see how the previous, or you see how the high of the day at the time was created from manipulation. That's what I love to see, right? If I want to get to an area, I need to have a protected swing to trade it from manipulation, so I can get expansion to that level. So I use the 30-minute chart here. I have a 30-minute close. I pair a manipulation with the driver. So here, this is also going to be course. You can do this so well with the 10 a.m. candle. You can pair the driver so easily because you just wait for this to happen. You just wait. You're not chasing the driver, getting wicked out a bunch of times. Just going to wait, right? So this not 30-minute candle. Okay, it's also the 930 candle. It manipulates its high. And there might have been some SMT as well. Right now with this asset, maybe YM. We have SMT there as well. But I don't really care about YM too much, but if you did take that in, cool. But here, all I need pretty much is this reversal. Right, so this is way too big of a This is technically valid already, right? But that stop loss is absolutely massive. So I'm gonna wait for this here. So that was my entry right there, plus here. And then this is like AM's continuation model, right? Where this is a failure to manipulate this low. It trades into it. What phase of price do we get? Right? It's definitely not, expansion mode of expansion, which is a reversal signature, right? It creates these little failure swings, an opposing candle that closes through it. That's what AM calls a continuation signature. Um, and at the time, what do we have aligned at this point? This is the 10 a.m. open. You see how far we deviated away from that? So now this is supporting expansion, right? Instead of the 4-hour candle. So I can trade, you know, back to, I want to, at least this is what I was aiming for. But this is really a nice target at the time. And I entered on the retest of this to get a smaller stop loss at that point. But if you just want a 2R, I think it's going to be around at 2,000 bucks. Like it was a good trade. It ran like 3.5R for me. But it came back, which is disappointing. um, but yeah, we eventually, if you target 2R, that's a good trade. That's back-to-back days there technically, around drivers. So with 930 and stuff and indices, you can really trade around the drivers. Um, so that's that day. And what about the previous day? Did I take this? I think there is some logic within here. Let me check though. Mm, It would have to be, hold on. It would have to be right here, right? Because if you want to trade a, let me check YM. No, there's no SMT, but ideally there's some SMT right here. So to get to these lows, these are really nice. These all these lows are super nice to target, and you're already within an expansion candle on the 4-hour time frame, right? So that's already aligned. If you look here, we're also inversing this here. So really, you're just trading within a driver. Like I'm always gonna wait for a driver. Okay. I don't know if we had news. I don't think it even matters. There's no news. That's fine. Um, but here, there's multiple ways you can view it. There's a 15-minute, fractal model right here. You could trade around the 930 open. There's also a 30-minute close here. I don't think there's an entry though. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like this is a bit too far down in the range. As you see, this is when that candle opens right here. There's no, what do you call it? Posing run or nothing like that. I remember sitting in this, watching this. I wanted to just market execute it honestly, but I stuck to it. Yeah, but that was that day. Nothing really there because at this point, um, when we're coming off an expansion, you know, kind of early in the day, right? 7 a.m. Really expanding, and then this wick is kind of large. I'm not really expecting too big of an expansion throughout the day. Doesn't really support that. I think I just chopped or something. Yeah, like that. That's pretty anticipatable to be fair. Um, I just want to check something real quick. Technically, no, there's nothing there. Just see if there's a model for the 1400 candle to trade back to the range, but there really wasn't. Um, what about this day? I think I traded this day. I think I did. I think I did. 6 a.m. Yep, I definitely did. Yes, I did. Cool. So what about this day? So this is a pretty good context in my opinion, right? Because if you go, this is Tuesday. So if you trade, look at Monday's candle, right? It's very, very large, right? We have no opposing run to the weekly candle. So generally you can trade back to that. It's illogical to think that we're going to get a continuation, right? After such a large range day. That's just not going to happen, especially when it's the first day of the week. You're not going to get 5 days or 4 days of expansion after that. Usually you're going to consolidate. Usually when Monday does something like this, it pretty much ruins the week. You can look here. Monday, large expansion. We're going to come back to that weekly open. It just ruins the week pretty much. You know, as you see, the rest of the week was pretty crap. Um, so already anticipating, I'm not expecting a large range day. Okay, absolutely not expecting that, but what I can expect and to frame is at least a 10 a.m. or a 4-hour expansion candle, right? So when I look at the daily candle, I have 1800 low. So what is this, right? This is called a delayed protraction profile where price opens up, it opens up right here, kind of consolidated, making a posing run, comes back to the open, creates the wick. Right? So this is the manipulation phase of the daily candle, and then it expands away. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just waiting for the next 4-hour candle, right? To support what? Expansion. Because this candle right here doesn't support expansion into my intended direction. Right? You could target this fair value gap here. So really, I'm just framing a model either to this high here and a little bit beyond that. Because remember, I'm not expecting a expansion candle on the daily time frame. So when I look at the candle close prior to the 10 a.m. open, I have an hourly close, but I also have a 30-minute close, right? And again, this is manipulation, right? If I go to the 30-minute on this asset, we don't have SMT. I think on YM, if you have SMT on YM, I think I will. It's like an additive influence YM has at SMT because they are correlated, right? They're just not as correlated. So I look here. Do we have or, a valid model? No, we don't. And I can also pair manipulation, like I said, with 930 or driver. This is one of the most consistent things is when you have a driver paired, with continuation or reversal. It adds a lot to the narrative. So in this case, right, we have 930 manipulation. What will 10 o'clock do, right? Spin. I need to wait for this to close over. So now it's valid to enter, but obviously this is absolutely huge. I'm gonna wait for some sort of, you know, what do you call it? Refined entry. So this is what you have right here. So this is what I'm entering on right here. Stop loss below here. And then I targeted 3R. It was around here, pretty much around that fair value gap up there. And this is one of those again that logic of we're hitting a key level, waiting for the not key level, but somewhat of a relevant swing, right? And we're hitting that key level, we're failing to manipulate it, so that means we're going to continue to objectives past this high. So highs over here, and then past that, right? Um, so just using that logic, right? We have this valid ideal swing formation. We're already expanding away from this candle. So the 30-minute candle that I'm trading within is already supporting expansion as well. And yeah, this is what I'm trading right here to get to up there. We get some sort of consolidation after what? Hitting a high, right? So this is going to be something you're going to see a lot, right? After expanding to highs and lows, relevant ones. Because when you look left, this is the only relevant high, right? It's the only relevant high in close proximity to anything else. So you're going to get a reaction there. Like it's going to happen usually. Um, and then I think we hit like a key level on 30-minute, right? 30-minute fair value gap. And then we get accumulation. You have an SMT here, I believe. So this is going to be a valid entry right here. I think I don't know if this works, but I think that's valid right there. Yeah, because you have this closure right here. So this is just accumulation, right? Or redistribution, whatever you call it. And you hit your TP there. That was a really good day. A good day. But yeah, that's pretty much in queue. Obviously, Monday there's going to be nothing going on. After the previous two sessions expand, there's logic to trade back within the range. So when is it going to trade back in the range, guys? When do you think? A new 4-hour candle. It's going to wait for that opening price. See that? So I don't know if there's a fractal on here, but probably not. I don't think there is. On the hourly is there, or on the other asset? Nope, it's fine. I just wouldn't. I just didn't touch this day. I don't think. I don't. If I do remember, pretty sure I didn't. Oh yeah, I traded YM though actually. Yeah, I traded YM. Go check out this. This is not this is not the fractal model though. So here I have basically right. We're coming off expansion. We have this small range day, and then we gap down, and we create this opposing run level, and we're creating SMT with this range low, right? So very significant SMT. So I can trade within expansion candles, right, away from that. So see, when do we actually expand, guys? Like literally when the next 4-hour candle aligns with it. This candle here support expansion? No. You have to wait for the next candles, right? Um, so it's pretty simple, honestly. Even if you're like not even a fractal model trader, you can use this as expansion model, really. So um, in this case, I traded something. There's nothing really 930 presented, right? Maybe you trade this or something, but I traded a 30-minute close here. At this point, we had a bunch of smooth highs right here. Also put some on my Twitter as well. Um, now this could be a potential entry, guys, right here. Actually, you have a ITO information on 30-minute. I just market executed. We had some like internal SMT here as well. Yeah, that's valid right there technically. Now this OP is a little bit small to enter on, but technically valid. Or you can just wait for this one. Right, so you can refine your entry there as well, right? And what is this within? An expansion candle. So that's why it's more high probable, right? Because your lower time frame model supported by a higher time frame expansion candle. That makes sense. And it eventually got to this high, by the way, right? Because this is the stronger asset between all the indices. This is why I'm comfortable trading this day. Do you see how Monday didn't gap lower? Like you see the difference between NQES and YM. So it's like when it's not really correlated, like you can't really use SMT as a good correlation. Doesn't really make sense. But I can just use relative strength to say that okay, I can trade this asset. Um, but yeah, that those are some models that I took this week. These models helped quite a bit. My biggest and most losses come around 920. But I'd never trade before equities open. Wait for 930 at least. And then you're gonna wait for like close through on like the 15-minute or 5-minute for continuation generally. Or you can just wait for 10 a.m. open. That's the easiest thing to do. She'll be covered in the course. Be very easy to refer to. But yeah, like 30, 15-second stuff. Yeah, that's all PS. Not not ideal. How much time do you take to frame the model at the beginning of the day? Um, well, I just wake up and hop on the charts. So like it's not very long, to be honest. I'm just looking at the profile, probably like 5 minutes or less. When you learn like the model, it's pretty simple. When you learn like profiles, it's pretty easy to know your invalidations and stuff like that. There's a couple things that go into it, but I guess. Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, me and T are gonna make it mechanical. It already is mechanical, like pretty mechanical, but we'll make it super easy to follow and stuff like that. Of course. But yeah, that's over an hour, isn't it? So I'll probably leave y'all at that. Um, again, it's not the whole model or nothing like that, but it's just a general idea how I'm framing trades every day. Um, yeah, should get that course up for you guys in like 2 weeks or so. Um, hang around just like a minute. Course, guys. Yep. But yeah, guys, I have a bunch of examples if you guys. So I posted that example within my channel of the fractal model chat. Yeah, if you guys want to study the model like already, this is it. If you look at all my trades, it- it's all the same thing generally. So look at why I'm here, right? 6 a.m. manipulation, 10 a.m. expansion, right? 30-minute model here. I have this close, so pretty simple stuff. When you really think about it. Here's same thing, right? I also have like a bunch of, I'll do a back test. Like once the model's actually out, we can do a back test stream where I can make a back test video, upload that to WAP, prepare that nicely for you guys. Also just do like back testing of the fract model in general. I gotta do that. Expansion model back test and all that. Yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Y'all have a good weekend. Yeah.